Hey everybody, it's Jason Creel. In this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of different weeds in the lawn and tell you the names of them so that you can identify the weeds in your own lawn. Let's get started. So what's this weed here? It grows low to the ground like a vine. Sometimes you'll see it with a small white flower on it. That's Virginia buttonweed. Nearly impossible to kill, to be honest with you, but there are products that work on. I use Change Up or Blindside. What's this one? This is Goose Grass. You see there, it grows. One of the things you'll see, Goose Grass is something you see a lot of times on a golf course, or I do. I'm in Alabama. Goose Grass is something you see on a golf course a lot of times. And what's tricky about it is no matter how low they cut the grass, whether it be on a green or a tee box or something like that, it's almost impossible to cut lower than the goose grass. It seems like it will just continue to grow lower and lower and be very compact. You'll see it like in a gravel driveway or something like that sometimes, but anyway, that's goose grass. This is Lespedeza. The other weed that I see a lot in my area that would be similar in the appearance to this would be Spurge. I'll show you some Spurge here in a minute, but Lespedeza is supposed to have a little bit of a woodier stem. It kind of grows in bunches, where Spurge, you know, is more likely to be found in the crack of your sidewall. I mean, it's in your yard too, but this just mats up and can take over a whole area, where I don't typically see Spurge do that. You see this one with a heart-shaped leaf. Sometimes you'll see it with a purple flower. That's wild violet. What about this one here? I see that one sometimes, usually April, May. I call it burnweed. People call it pigweed, fireweed. It's American burnweed. Hard to prevent because it germinates in the thatch, but easy to get rid of with almost any post-emergent herbicide. What about this? Now, this is some type of Kalinga. I get them confused, or at least I think it's Kalinga. You know, a lot of times these Kalingas will have little spiky balls on them and look similar to Nutsedge, but you know, not too close where it's pretty easy to tell them apart, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's different kinds. I don't know the difference in all the different kind of Kalingas, but for some sedge products will work on Kalinga, like Certainty. I use Blindside. Seems to be anything with dismiss in it seems to work pretty good on Kalinga for me. Here's this weed, one of the tough ones. That's broom sedge. Usually you'll see it and it has a very flat base to the leaf there. You know, it's broom sedge, not actually a sedge. Another very difficult one to kill. Sometimes it's easy to pull up. This one is a little bigger. Sometimes it'll have a purplish tint to the leaf. Difficult weed to control. This isn't a great example, but this is dallisgrass. It's got a dull green color leaf to it. Oftentimes confused with crabgrass. A lot of times any grassy weed in the lawn, the customer tells me I've got crabgrass, and it's not always crabgrass, but this is dallisgrass. Something else I'll see late spring, early summer, and people think they have weeds in their yard, and it's actually just small trees that are sprouting. So if you have a big oak tree, you might have a lot of little oak tree saplings in the lawn, and you know, pre-emergent is not going to prevent that typically. Usually they'll go away after you cut the grass 1 or 2 times. Here's one that grassy weed. I see some in the summer, and the particular one that I see a lot, you can see it here, has a very red center down there at the base, and this is Foxtail. It'll put up a seed head that gives it this name, I'm sure. With it looks like a foxtail, real fuzzy looking. There's different types of foxtail, but like I said, the one I see most is this one that has a very red color in the center. This is crabgrass. Again, when the seed heads pop up, they become even easier to tell apart. But there's a lot of crabgrass you can see in this lawn. More crabgrass. Pretty good example of the Virginia buttonweed that we looked at earlier. I told you sometimes you'll see a situation like this where you've got a tree, you know, an oak tree right here, and underneath it is a lot of oak tree saplings. So wouldn't consider that a weed. Just mow it a couple times, they'll usually go away. It's some poanua that's dying off. It'll be gone soon. The weather's getting hot. You see it a lot here in the spring, but dies off usually around May or June. Another cool season weed, a wild geranium that'll also die off with the heat. I want to give you one more shot of the Virginia buttonweed. You can see this vine that's all through here, and then you see it does have a little white flower there, you can see, and that helps you identify it. Maybe even has a little bit of a purplish tint to it. Look at this, there's a yellow wood sorrel still hanging around with a flower. Looks like it's about to bloom. Oxalis yellow wood sorrel is what that's called. Sometimes you'll see it, I don't know if it's a different variety or a different stage where you'll see it. Sometimes it'll be purple looking. All right, what about this one? This one's called Creeping Charlie, or ground ivy is what we call it. There's a video popping up now if you want to watch on how to control that in your lawn. I did a video about that and got some pretty good results controlling it. More Kalinga. Now look at this. What is this grass here? Let's talk about that. This is Bahia grass, and you can see how it puts up this tall stalk seed head with a Y shape to it. Makes it pretty easy to identify. Sometimes they'll have a pinkish tint down by the base of the plant. Let's see, a little pinkish purplish color down there. Now some of you have Bahia grass lawn, you know, to you it might not be a weed. A weed by definition is an unwanted plant. So, you know, for me it's a weed. I'm trying to get it out of my lawn, and other people may not think it's a weed. Some people may claim a mosquito is not a pest. You know, to me it pesters me, so it's a pest, you know, but to each his own. You see in here is a little bit of clover hanging around, and when it gets hot the clover sort of doesn't do as well. It likes a little cooler weather, but sometimes it'll still hang around, but it just gets down lower in the grass and is not as noticeable. There's a little better example of the yellow wood sorrel right here mixed in with some crabgrass. There's field matter, see it? Got the purple flowers on it, but you can see the shape of the plant. Look at the leaf there, but it becomes real easy to identify with the purple flowers. What about this one? Poison ivy, poison oak. I'm sorry, I don't know the difference, but that's one of them. You see it sometimes in the lawn, on the shadier part of the lawn. And this is Virginia creeper. You'll see it a lot of times, and people confuse it with poison ivy, but it has 5 leaves where the poison ivy has 3 leaves. And here's an example of spurge. You see this? Like I said, a lot of times they'll be in the crack your driveway. Let me show you it side by side with Lespedeza. So you see there's the Lespedeza here, and then there's spurge. So you can see a difference in the leaf color, the stem color. You see the spurge just kind of grows, sprawls out, where the Lespedeza can tend to mat up and really choke out the grass. Let me show you a lot of these together, some of these together, so you can compare them. But some of these grassy weeds, you got a lot of crabgrass in here, which is what most of this is. But then this one, it's a little taller with a more of a lighter colored leaf, is the foxtail. Again, sometimes you can see that. Again, sometimes you can see that red center to the plant where my finger's pointing right there. See how that red center on that one? Again, that's the type of foxtail I have. I don't know, they probably don't all have that, but that's the one that I see all the time, so that's one I'm showing you. And then when they put out a seed head, it becomes so much easier. And there's the goose grass. And that's the Dallas grass. So you see here, Dallas grass, crabgrass. Dallas crab. I guess you just look at them a lot and they just become more obvious, but the Dallas grass has a dull colored leaf to it. The crabgrass is usually a lighter, a little bit brighter colored leaf. It may darken up as it matures where they become some of the same color, but the crabgrass just mats up throughout the whole yard. It just take over a massive section. Dallas grass is in individual clumps. The Dallas grass is a perennial, meaning your pre-emergence not going to work on it. Crabgrass is annual. You can prevent it fairly easily with a pre-emergent. Look at this, some big tall yellow nutsedge. Now this has gotten out of control how tall it is, but you know, Yellow nutsedge, usually a little bit lighter color than purple nutsedge, has a little bit finer point on the end of the plant. Comes to a little sharper point. Let me see if I can find some purple nutsedge to compare it with. I was unable to find any of the purple nutsedge. Like I said, it usually grows lower to the ground, not quite as tall, a little bit duller point, a little bit darker leaf than the yellow nutsedge. And the reason it's sometimes important to differentiate, and then you may not have purple nutsedge area, but some purple nutsedge is typically harder to control than yellow nutsedge. A lot of the products like Blindside and stuff like that will work on a yellow nutsedge, dismiss, things like that, but they don't do too good on the purple nutsedge, where you might need to use something like Sedge Hammer, Solero, or Certainty, something like that. It's a sedge product. Hope the video's been helpful. Sometimes people say, I got a weed here, and they live in, you know, some other country, other part of the United States. I see the same weeds that are very common in my area, so I'm not familiar with every weed. I'm not familiar with the names of every weed in my area. Sometimes they say weed control, if you can kill it, then you don't have to know what it's called. Well, that, you know, I see the point, but sometimes it's good to know what it's called so that you can know how to control it in the lawn. So thanks for watching. I'm Jason Creel. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot of other weed identification videos. There's videos on how to control these weeds for some of the different weeds we talked about. A lot of information about fertilizing, things like that. But I'd encourage you to subscribe. Check out the videos on the channel by clicking the channel name, Lawn Care Life, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks a lot. Bye.